Hey, I'm Jamie from Geek and this is my Steam Indie Roundup. Since there's so many indie games being released on Steam each week, this series should show what you might enjoy and what should be avoided. Cheap and cheerful is our aim here, so I'll only be showing games that are less than a fiver. So first up, we've got a 2D puzzler called Roti Air, or Roti Air. However it's meant to be pronounced, the aim is basically to get this ball into that goal. To do so, you have to move the ball and rotate the stage. The stages start off basic and gradually get more difficult, and if you fall off the stage you'll lose a life. Now at a glance the gameplay seems solid if unoriginal, but the problem is that the physics don't really work properly. Sometimes if you rotate the stage on a moving platform, for example, you'll fall in completely the wrong manner and then you'll end up losing your life. And it kind of feels like the game's just cheated you, because you knew what you were doing but the game didn't. There's also the fact that the stage can't be rotated mid-fall, which you'd expect to be possible. The velocity of the ball when it's falling doesn't make complete sense, so it's very easy to misjudge how far and how quickly you'll fall. And this makes the stages with the moving platforms even more difficult. And by difficult I don't mean the sort of difficult which is challenging, but the difficult which is really frustrating. All in all, it's not very fun, it's not very well polished, and it looks more like an Android game or something. Wait, hold on a second. I wasn't wrong. It's even cheaper on Android too. My verdict, not worth the £4 on Steam, and not worth the 76p on Android. In my opinion, it should be a free game, if anything, and not even worth being a Steam game. Stick to Android, lads. Next up, we've got an exploration / tower defense game called Dig or Die. Yeah, maybe the naming could be a little better. Gonna be a little less harsh on this one since it's in early access. Playing this game instantly shows influences from the likes of Terraria and Starbound. The end goal is to fix your spaceship and go off somewhere or something like that. I don't know, I wasn't really paying attention. But the gameplay consists of creating some sort of shelter from the monsters that go batshit insane when the sun goes down. Most of the day will be spent panicking and trying to gather materials to make your base stronger, and the night spent watching it all fall under itself. The main gimmick is that if a structure has too much strain, it'll collapse. This is a nice idea, though either I don't understand it entirely, or it's not quite forgiving enough. I felt the need to fill my house with beams to keep it standing, as it's quite difficult to grasp just what the best way to design a shelter is. The combat's fairly solid, and shooting monsters is pretty satisfying. You find yourself experimenting with different ways of dealing with the nighttime raid, some working a lot better than others. Overall, this is definitely a game to keep your eye on, and if the creator does finish the game, then I have hope for it being pretty good. It's very far off from being even remotely near the level of Starbound, but it's definitely got potential. Currently it's priced at about £2, but the developer has stated that as more's added to the game, they will raise the price. My verdict, buy it whilst it's cheap because it has decent potential. The next game I want to look at is Plug and Play. This one is weird. Okay, for £1.99 you can get this art game, both of which are arguable terms in this case. It's described as an interactive animation, which means that you click on something sometimes. The premise of the game is, so there's people with plugs for heads, and they stick their heads up each other's arses. If there's some deeper meaning to the game, then it went straight over my head. Probably some deep emotional tale of relationships or something. It literally takes like 10 minutes to complete. For $1.99, I wouldn't consider it worth the money. If it was free to play, perhaps. Don't bother buying it, just watch some gameplay on YouTube or something. Probably my favourite of the batch, and another one that's awkward to pronounce. This is Been Outta. This is a cute little 3D physics-based puzzler that's very relaxing and at the same time quite challenging. Our cute little protagonist, Lucian, is set off on an adventure to save houses from plunging into the depths of hell. Floating blocks must be painted together to create sturdy structures, and as soon as the big red button in the corner is clicked, gravity takes its toll, and anything that isn't being held up somehow falls into the void. This game's pretty well designed, as new physics and mechanics are introduced as you go along. The visuals are nice, and could be comparable to Okami, but maybe I'm being a little generous. Character designs are fun, story is cute, and all in all this is a nice experience, simple as that. It's nearly a fiver, but worth every penny. I very much recommend this. Armed 7 is an old school arcade like bullet hell where you play as a mech and shoot things that are trying to shoot you. Also, it's really fucking difficult. I'm not very good at bullet hell shooters. I literally couldn't get past the first level on easy mode. In fact, I don't even know if there is levels or whether it's just endurance. This game is tough. In all seriousness, the controls are solid and the sprites are pretty nice. It's sometimes kinda difficult to know what's in the background and what's on the plane that you can shoot at, but beside that, it's pretty decent. It's £4 for anyone who's good at bullet hell shooters. Otherwise, you may want to pass. It's a good game, it's very difficult. Finally, we have a game called Tallowmere. This is a roguelike platformer RPG side-scroller. You're dropped into a world with an axe and a shield and told to go kill stuff. This is a pure roguelike, and the only things that are kept between each life is your score on a scoreboard. As you make your way through the dungeons, you'll find tiered weapons and armour. As much as I wanted to experiment, as soon as I found a katana, I stuck to it, as it allows you to teleport to the nearest enemy to attack them. This means that spamming the attack button will have you teleport all around the room, making you almost untouchable. Almost, because there's an enemy which throws homing grenades that stun you for a number of seconds. Ignoring these is deadly, so you have to make use of the shield given. You really do depend on the shield. You're given the option to sacrifice kittens at the start of the game, and each one that you sacrifice will give you an extra 10 points of health. The supposed downside given for this is that you'll be put onto a different scoreboard when you do eventually die. This did not stop me from sacrificing kittens. The only criticism that I can find besides the unbalanced weapons is the graphics. There's a clash of different resolutions for different sprites, like it's not sure if it wants to look indie or retro. Some characters are different resolution to the others, and so are the objects in the world. This is quite off-putting for me, but it doesn't take away much from the experience. This is definitely a game worth buying, and it's around £4. That's about it for this episode, so tune in again in a couple of weeks for my next batch of indie games. Thanks for watching.